smoke, let the time drip.
Can I?
Baptize me in that muddy water. I won't stop loving her till I die. Pour me a drink on the bank, my brother. Roll me a smoke, let the time drip by. Baptize me in that muddy water. I won't stop loving her till I die.
Come on with it. Low budget live and the stylings of outlaw apostles right there. My dude Bay Simpson, man alive. We introduced Bay to the Express Boats dealer folks and the out there at the Express Boats dealer meeting, and holy crap, that's his band right there. Bay, the son of John Simpson, the ABT tournament director extraordinaire who plays drums in the Fat Rascals. So that's a very talented young man right there. And we were talking. I said, man, I'm going to start playing The River. I'm going to start playing The River on Low Budget Live a little bit. So y'all go check it out. Outlaw Apostles, The River right there. No Biloxi Blues this week. We're still going to stick with some Biloxi Blues. But, that song right there. That's a good one right there. This is the podcast for Monday, August 5th. Hope all of you are doing well out there. You bunch of lowlifers. And if you're just joining in for the first time, you're wondering what a lowlifer is, well, that's what you are now. Congratulations, buddy. Congratulations. You are a lowlifer. If you're staring at my fat self right now, listening to my weed eater like voice, you are indeed a lowlifer. So welcome, lowlifers, one and all. There's nothing that'll make you feel older than playing music. I play music for many years. Y'all hear me talk about it, but playing music with somebody like Bay, who is 25. Man, he's got the hair. Man, he's out there. He's just doing it. And he's on that hillbilly highway right now, playing all over the country, trying to make things happen. Right, so such a good singer, such a good guitar player, and I'm like, Bay, you want to take this next song? And you see all the ladies in the crowd go, Bay! You just hear it. It makes you feel old and fat, because I am old and fat. Speaking of old and fat, I'm fixing to take my old fat ass to out of the country for a 10-year anniversary trip. Me and the Triple Threat. Gotta give a damn sound effect for that. Me and the Triple Threat fixing to go out of the country, so no Low Budget Live on Monday because we're still going to be gone. But I will be doing a live on Tuesday. Okay, on Tuesday of next week. So no LBL on Monday, but a live on Tuesday for sure. We will be back in action. But we are been married 10 years. We made it. I mean, hell. Yeah, I think, she's as surprised as everybody else that she put up with me for this song. But we're gonna go out of the country for just a few days, man. But we got to celebrate that. That's a big deal. And I'm going to come back even fatter than I am right now. And then I've been trying to. I'm politicking for this around the house to come back and just get on Ozempics. Just double fisting syringes into my gut. I mean, that seems to be the thing, dude. I don't give a damn about side effects. Just give me that Ozempics. Give me that Ozempics, man. I mean, I'm probably diabetic. I don't know. I eat enough little Debs, probably. But when we get back from this trip, your boy's got if y'all remember a few years ago, I did the fat ass challenge with my buddy Big C leading up to the Classic. If y'all are OG low-lifers, y'all remember that. We're going to need a dose of that again because I am over it. I was talking to my buddy Ryan Engelman from Turnpike Troubadours yesterday, as a matter of fact, about this very thing. And he was saying, man, he's got a trainer and he's doing this, and he's doing that to try to keep up with these youngins out on the road while they're touring. Yeah, I'm there. I'm going to have to do that soon as well. So Ozempics, if anybody from Ozempic is watching this, you'd like to sponsor a fishing podcast, hit me up. Hashtag LBL10 to get your Ozempics. I share too much with you people sometimes. But indeed, and you know what would cure it? Just getting off the damn couch, putting the Tito's down, putting the putting them tenderloin biscuits down in the morning, maybe not drinking Celsius. I don't know. We got to figure it out, though. Or by this time next year, y'all going to be like, this is, I'm going to look like Grimace from damn McDonald's. I got to stop. All right. I want to say thank you to everybody. Y'all showed up and showed out last week on voting in my little poll that I did. And I love when y'all comment. Anyways, first and foremost, I love it. And I love the interaction. And overwhelming, in my opinion, the option B for a hybridized schedule. It was kind of glaringly obvious that a lot of y'all enjoy it. You might not want to watch it all the time, but you were like me in the sense of you don't want to see a band. You don't think bands are a good thing. So a lot of interesting comments. I mean, you had people that were very, there were several that were about a band, but not many. Now, to be fair, if old Randy, if Randy had done the same poll, it'd probably been like, block it. Get it? So many of y'all wrote that joke in the comments. It made me laugh every time. But there would be a lot of that. There would be a lot of that. And dude, I just want to say, it is definitely it's doom and gloom over there on Randy. Like, he's getting them views and he's got them subscribers. But damn, man, I see his stuff pop up on my Facebook from time to time. I'm just like, God almighty. As someone that can be negative in life, that's a lot of negativity to swim around in on a daily basis. And if it pays the light bill, go ahead. Say that's fine. But damn, so it's like, we're headed down a dark path. The world is ending as far as we know it. There will never be bass fishing again! ! Question mark. It's like, what? I don't know. And maybe he's right and we're all wrong. Again, I said last week, there's a lot of people passionate on all sides of it, and I don't dislike anybody over their opinions, because God knows I've been disliked plenty over mine. So that's the cool thing about free speech. That's the cool thing about having eyes and ears. You can choose what you want to watch and consume and listen. So if you're into that sort of thing, then by God, get after it. And if you're benefiting from it, then by God, good for you, I say. All right, let's thank the sponsors real quick, and then we're gonna jump into a couple things. And we got a guest that I'm really looking forward to talking to, because I feel like I've been with this dude on his bass fishing journey for a while now, and our paths have intermingled, and he's transforming a little bit. First and foremost, Southern Boating Supply. Y'all go check us out, southernboatingsupply.com, southernboatingsupply.com. You can use code LBL10. We got some merch on there, and we have our hook havens right now. Several more parts are fixing to drop on the website. Got some really cool stuff I'm very proud of, and it will only continue to grow. But our new Southern Boating Standards line will be up very soon. We're working on that now, which will be just little, your drain plugs, your aerator screens, replacement kill switches, that type thing. Just your everyday boat part. Those will all be available very soon. And then some really cool things to come. So southernboatingsupply.com, Southern Boating Supply. Appreciate y'all on that. Gill Fishing. So we've got a new gift. Now we've clicked over this calendar into August. And if you spend $75, it has been $100, okay? But listen to me. If you spend $75 in the month of August and use code LBL Gift, you will get a Tech UV sun hat. I have one of these. They're freaking awesome. They're a lifesaver in the heat, but you'll get a free one. And I think that thing's like a $40 value, something along those lines. So if you spend $75, not hard to do on there. Lots of great stuff. Gillfishing.com. LBL Gift. Pro Guide Batteries, ProGuideBatteries.com. OGs in the battery game. They've been making it happen for many, 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 many years. They got in the lithium game a few years ago. I absolutely am obsessed with their batteries. I have been plagued with battery issues for years and years and years. And when I got hooked up with these guys a few years ago, their AGMs blew me out of the water. Their lithiums blow me out of the water, like on a daily basis when I fish. Blown away. Performance wise, I've honest to God, can look at this camera. I've never had a single issue. And I know a lot of people feed you that crap. I promise you, no issues. I've never had an issue. They got their new charger line. You can use code LBL10 to save you some money. LBL10. I sound like I was going through puberty right there. LBL10 to save some money. ProGuideBatteries.com. Bait-works.com. Bait-WRX. Bait-WRX. Baitworks.com. Duncan, DUNKIN-10. Duncan-10. It's where you're going to save money on all things at Baitworks, like the LOB jig, the exclusive online home for my little jig, the only jig out there with a low budget live logo on the package, the finer than frog hair skirt material, and that custom 3-aught trocar. When you stick him, he ain't going nowhere, and you can throw it on big line. It's a finesse jig. It's a power finesse jig. You can put it where you need to put it to get a bite when sometimes they get a little tricky. Maybe they're a little spooky. LOB jig right there, baitworks.com. And last but not least, hang the dadgum banner. The Bassmaster Classic winning, original, all welded, aluminum bass catcher machine-ish. I'm not sure if that's an official tagline from Express right there, but Express Boats, man, can't say enough about them. Out there at their dealer meeting, incredible people. I say that all the time. I think that their dealers feel like family. I think their pro staff feels like family, and I feel like that if you're an individual customer, you feel like family once you join that Express or Veranda, their pontoon side. But the product they're rolling out, man, I got to see all the new stuff along with the dealers, and I know I have harped. I'm running the X21 Pro LE right now, but that H20, I got to test drive one. It's got a 175 on it, 20-foot boat, tons of storage, huge deck. You know, just a little maybe smaller than the X21 as far as front deck size, but it's a beast. It's a beast of a boat. But I got to go for a test drive. This thing's pushing close to 60 with a 175 on it. Incredible layout. They have a crappie model in it. But let me tell you, they have a camoed out version of this thing. Made my redneck heart so happy. But the new H20, they have the H17, the H18, and of course the X19 and the X21, which are kind of the flagship of the fleet, so to speak. But Express Boats, if there's one thing I know, they've been building excitement since 1966. Go to a dealer, check one out. You will not regret it at all. All right, moving on. A couple things. This Unified Angler thing, they named Mark Davis their tournament director. Mark's been around the game forever, Bassmaster Classic champion, Angler of the Year, whatnot. Legend in the sport. MLF owner. He's an MLF owner. This thing just constantly smells of MLF. There's a lot of MLF anglers associated with it. Gentleman that was associated with the MLF Anglers Association is kind of the head honcho, it seems. And I just don't think there's a way that MLF's not really tied to this thing. It would seem. Maybe I'm wrong. On that. But certainly smells like it. We'll see. We'll see what shakes out with that. That was a bass fishing announcement this week. And moving on, before we get to our guest, who I'm going to text real quick. We're going old school on the Eagle Claw hotline. We're going to hook him up via phone call again today because we're still struggling with Wi-Fi issues here in the bar and grill. But before we move on, I got to say, keeping up with all the tournaments is very difficult these days. There's a lot of people that you need to watch out for, I feel like, as far as be on your radar. And Alec Morrison, who will be on the BPT now next year if he accepts the invite, Rookie of the Year, Angler of the Year, I believe I'm getting that right, has won multiple, Toyotas. He is a freak of nature. If you start, I don't know him at all. But I know enough people that, mutual friends that post about him a lot. And I would love to get him on the show at some point. But Alec Morrison is a special individual when it comes to catching bass. I'm just going to tell you, another young man that is a special individual that came up short in that Angler of the Year race is Jake Lawrence. He's a Tennessee River boy. Again, Jake, do not know him well at all, but I am a fan of what he does on and off the water. He seems to understand what goes on. There's no doubt about that. But he's a freak of nature as well. So I got to give kudos to those guys. The last MLFLW Invitational of the Year, former FLW Tour event, was up there on St. Clair. And speaking of that, we're gonna call our old buddy right now. Old buddy. Ladies and gentlemen, the man from Florida that just went to Michigan and showed him what's up, Keith Carson.
Luke, what's up?
What's up, Keith Carson? How are you, buddy? Welcome.
Yeah, I'm good.
Welcome back to Low Budget Live, Not So Live.
Yep.
For your,
Thanks, man.
We've done this a few times, you and I, because you just always seem to be in the conversation, Keith Carson. I said this before I brought you on. I said our bass fishing lives since 2021 have intermingled a lot because of MPFL, and I've gotten to know you. I'm a huge fan of you as a person as an angler. And I have to say, man, it was like rooting for the home team. Watching you on St. Clair, I'm like, that's my boy right there. And he's fixing to win a smallmouth derb. What is going on?
Yeah, what has happened in the world right now? Yeah.
Just when this year couldn't get any weirder, dude. Just when it couldn't get any weirder, you go and win a smallmouth tournament.
I know. That's freaking, isn't that unreal?
It's like, amazing.
Yeah, it really is. I'm still mind blown. You know, I got in my truck yesterday and I see the big plastic check. And
yeah.
Like, holy crap, it really happened.
It did. It did indeed happen, buddy. And I couldn't be, you know, we've talked about this a lot in the last couple of years, but man, you win Angler of the Year in the MPFL right after you win an Open that takes you to the Classic. So you had that all going on at the same time in the same year. You've had so many accomplishments in the last few years. Then you qualify for BPT. Kind of roll through those invitationals. Now you're fishing both. And you've had a couple near misses in those, and you're able to win on a body of water that, no offense, I don't know that anybody was pulling for Keith Carson win up there, but I will say this, from talking to you like at Saginaw Bay and MPFLs, I know you're out there poking around, looking at them offshore these days a little more than your buddy John.
Oh, for sure, man. I mean, it's been a real eye opener as far as like forward sonar goes, man. I mean, you know, especially on the Bass Pro Tour, like forward sonar is a big player in every league, in every level, also, no matter what. But Bass Pro Tour, like if you get left behind in this format of every fish counts. You know, I mean, it's just such an advantage to make sure every cast is at a fish. And I knew that, but when I fished it and I saw it in person, and we've got the live tracker, you know.
Yeah. You're hearing it all day.
Right. Yeah. I'll see Wheeler or something in the distance, and I'm like, hey, Marshall, what's Wheeler got? And they're like, he's blasting them, basically, you know. And I'm like, and I see him, using sonar, racing around and stuff. And so I'm like, okay, I got to pick my game up, you know, and I started just every time I'd put the boat in the water, I'd turn it on, and that's what I would do, and just try to learn, fish behavior and how it works, because my entire fishing career, I have never fished off the bank ever.
Right.
Like, if my rod can't touch the bottom, it's too deep. I don't want to fish there. Yeah. And now with sonar, if your rod can touch the bottom, you're too shallow. You can't see. There's too much grass. You just can't. The sonar can't see that well, you know, for me anyway, below, you know, less than 5 feet. And so I'm like, well, I'll just start getting out there. And friggin' man, just ran into him up at St. Clair. It's unbelievable.
Well, you started telling me, I guess, it might have been 2 years ago when we were at Saginaw Bay. I can't remember, for an MPFL. This will be 3 years in a row that we've gone there. But you were telling me like you had stopped at maybe on the way and had gone to Sturgeon Bay I believe. And
Yeah.
you had kind of, you're like, man, I just saw this. I've never used it. This is my first time. And oh my God, you were getting excited about it. You're like, man, I could see where I could get hooked on that real easy.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Before this year, I had it, and my rule was I would just use it for smallmouth, because with smallmouth you
Okay.
get a lot of roamers, and when you see them, they're relatively easy to catch most of the time, and even if you make a bad cast, they'll race over to it from 10 feet, 15 feet, however far away.
They're just
And
aggressive.
so I was like, well, I don't need it for largemouth, but I definitely will use it for smallmouth. And as this year's progressed, I'm like, well, okay, I need it all the time. Like, I need it for largemouth, I need it for smallmouth, so I'm just really and just trying to adapt as an angler,
Yeah.
because a lot of the guys that aren't using it and don't want to, and not just Cox, but Hackney and a lot of great anglers are not doing as well this year as they had in the past.
Yeah.
Because the technology is just unreal, honestly.
It is definitely
So-
It's definitely dominant. I tell people all the time, there are folks obviously that don't like it out there. A lot of them,
Right.
I did a poll on this show last week though, with all the chatter, because there's a ton of chatter, changes coming for the leagues, and either limitations or will some ban it, or and I did a vote. I said A is a limitation, B would be a hybridized deal where, hey, we're going to have it some and we're not, which I understand the negativity in that, where it could be confusing to the fans or whatever. But, hey, we're going to have 4 with it, 4 without it, however it shakes out. And then C would be a total ban. And out of my comments, and there were a lot of comments, the overwhelming from the fans of the sport that listen to this show in particular, B, hybridized was the it was a good mix of B and A, but B seemed to shine. They would like to see that.
That's good to hear, because that's what I would pick also, because in my opinion, I think Angler of the Year should represent a well-rounded angler.
Yeah, for
someone
sure.
who can do it all, right? Like on the invitationals, we have a guy that just won the AOY.
I was just talking about him.
Never caught
Alec.
a fish.
Yeah.
He used sonar for every fish he caught all year, and there is strength to use sonar, and it is not easy. I'm not knocking him down. I'm just saying, like, if half were with it and half without, then that guy who won AOY is truly a well-rounded angler, and he can fish without it, and he represents. It's like in golf. Like, imagine if somebody won a golf tour tournament with like just a driver. You'd be like, well, hang on. What about his putting? What about his chipping? What about his approach to the greens? Shot.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I get it. I get it for sure. Or Angler of the Year just went. Or if you're going to be the Player of the Year, you just play the same golf course, and the pin placement never changes or whatever kind of deal. And I'm not saying it's like that with forward facing, because it's really not. Because there'll be comments on this. Like I was just talking about Alec before you came on, and what a freak he is. Like the kid is something else, man. He's something else. But like a Patrick Walters that I get to watch all the time on NPFL, I can tell you, these guys, because the general, I think a really bad take on forward facing that I hear a lot is, it's not fishing. Let's get back to fishing. Well, I watch these guys. We can see their screens through NPFL, and the amount of times in a 5 hours of us watching it that they throw at bass that do not bite, or they have to switch up some kind of technique or switch areas. You know what I mean? Like it's very much, it's not, oh my God, there's one, boom, got him. I mean, every single time, even for the guys that are, and I think that, and my joke to a lot of tournament anglers and fans has been, if it were that easy, it would be 100-way tie for first place almost at every tournament, because everybody, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it still comes down to areas and different things, but everybody would just blast them all the time, because there are guys that don't like it that still have it on their boat and go out there and dabble with it, but they don't commit to it. They're not as dialed as these other guys. And I think you can argue it was the same when side imaging came out. I've said this way too many times on the show, but there have always been guys that have advantages. I've watched you, Keith Carson and John Cox, enough that I know you boys have a crazy, scary good advantage when you get up there where your rod touches the bottom.
Yeah.
I've watched that, and y'all go behind people and get bites. And so,
Yeah.
you know, because some people would say, well, going down the bank's easy. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, well, you just go up there.
God.
That's easy. Well, it's not. None of it's
right.
None of it's easy, man. None of it's easy. There are days fishing might seem easy because they bite, but man, more times than not, when you've got 150 amazing anglers on a body of water, 100 to 150, they all find the same juice. They've been there multiple times. They know where to be. And those fish are super educated by the time the tournament rolls around. So none of it's easy, man. But I do get what you're saying. It would be, you know, for years I've thought Bassmaster back in the day, they used to start in August. Okay. I'm sure you remember that because you're a fan like me. They would start in August, and it was normally like Potomac River, but their season would start in the fall, run through the winter. This is like old top 100 days. Then go through the spring and end like early summer, and then the Classic was in the summer. So you did truly have an angler of the year because you had to catch them everywhere in all kinds of different situations, weather and different bodies of water. And I loved that as a kid. And now I do feel we go angler of the year is, oh, well, we've started in January and we're finished in late July. You know, that's we fish half the year, not the entire year. MPFL this year, we started in January, and then things have been real spread out, and we don't end till October. So you do get a few more seasons than that, and that's what I love about their schedule too. But it would be, I like the hybridized, man. I'm not, I don't like bands. I've said that on here as well. That makes me nervous. I think limitations are, you know, whatever. I don't think you're not going to stop. That's like throwing a rock in the ocean, so to speak. The limitation part of it, I think, like that's not going to do anything to appease the bitching. And then, yeah, you know what I'm saying. The hybridized,
it's not going to do it.
No, it's not. Hybridized would be fun for sure. And how cool! I've seen this in the comments too. And maybe not for you anglers. You may say, oh my gosh, because I do know some pro anglers are very pissed about the fact that I said hybridize is the way to go because they don't like the idea of that. They're like, we're not here for your entertainment. I actually had a buddy of mine tell me that this week. I was like, well, you kind of are. You kind of are at that level. There's live cameras in your boat. You're kind of there for entertainment. If you sign up for it, you kind of, even if you didn't mean to, you're there for that. But I think drawing it out of a hat, like, hey, do a live stream. This is where we're going to have it. This is where we're not. And it's like this draft situation. And you're like, all the pros are sitting at home like, come on, St. Lawrence River. Come on, St.
Yeah, I know.
It's an interesting time in the sport, though, man. That's for sure. But I love your approach, and you're always such a positive dude that you're like, you know what? I'm gonna stick my toe in this pool over here and see what happens. And dude, you and I were texting back and forth. You're like, dude, I did it. I beat the scopers. I love it. I know. It's so good.
They were all coming up to me and they're like, you know how to use that thing? And I'm like, I guess. And they're like, I cannot believe I let a boy from Florida who didn't know how to use scope 6 months ago beat me. And I was like, man, I put some time in these last 6 months. I
love it, dude.
I didn't even know what a jig head minnow was at Toledo Bend, the first Bass Pro Tour.
Yeah.
I had no clue. Like, I just didn't know. I found suspended fish. Like, I know how to use the sonar. I know how to find them.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to catch them. And I would throw a drop shot to suspended fish and try to swim, like a flatworm. And I got a couple bites, but Wheeler found the same fish as me a few hundred yards away, and he's just blasting them. And I'm like, my God, what is he doing? And then I learned about the whole jig head minnow thing.
You were like, welcome. So, were you like, welcome to Thunderdome when that started happening? Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's unreal. Like watching the guys. So like one thing I learned, like Bass Pro Tour this year is like, watching the guys on camera and seeing them in person are two completely different things.
Interesting.
And so like if I watch Wheeler on camera, I can't tell how fast he's going and how quickly he's changing directions because you're far off the bank. There's no reference like to see how fast he's moving. And when I watched him in person, I mean, it was unreal how fast he was.
And efficient, right?
Yeah, efficient and quick. And I'm like, oh, okay, now I watched him for like 5 minutes and I'm like, I see how to do it. I got it. And that was it, like in person. And then it changed everything on how I approach forward sonar. Like from that day, in a few minutes, I was like, I got it. You know, I know what to do at least. Not that I got it, but I was like, at least I know what to do.
Well, you got 80 grand in a smallmouth thurb and a trip to Redcrest, right? Don't that win get you that?
Yeah. So I'm going to Redcrest Gunnersville.
Yeah.
Thrilled about that.
I was gonna say, now, I mean, forward-facing sonar plays everywhere. We know that, but April on Gunnersville, I don't know, Keith. You might have to get out that little shallow game again.
Right. I might be putting the rod in to hit the bottom.
That's
see
right.
How deep it is. Yeah. I mean, I'm really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, I think that's going to be just a dummy tournament right there. I think that one's going to be blow some minds on how many big ones get caught that week. Should be a lot of fun. I was pumped when they announced that a couple years back that they were going back to back Alabama Redcrest. That one's going to be a good time for sure. Well, dude, talk to me about your BPT experience. It was very cool, like the Wheeler, seeing it in action, up close and personal. These guys that you followed along and haven't fished against really yet until you got to that point. But we're headed into y'all's final event at the St. Lawrence River. How has your overall experience been? Have you enjoyed fishing at that level and with that format?
It's been a real learning experience, I'll say. You know, this format is something I have never fished before. Mm-hmm. You know, every fish counts. My whole life is like what I did last week. I went after giants, like, you know, that's all I did. And it's funny because I was talking to Cox about it, and I was like, man, if St. Lawrence or St. Clair last week was a Bass Pro Tour, I would not have even cashed a check.
Oh wow!
Because I was only catching like I think day one I caught 12 fish, and day two I caught 7, and I was not catching many at all, but they were the right ones for the 5-fish format. And so it's been hard for me to adjust to go from everything I've known, you know, like I could just run down the bank and say, oh, I could probably get a big bite here. I could probably get a big bite there. But that doesn't necessarily matter in the Bass Pro Tour. You know, you need numbers. And so I'm really, you know, I have to take a step back from everything I learned and relearn and figure out how to get bites and how to, you know, stay in productive water. So it's been a huge learning experience. And right now on Bass Pro Tour, I need a good tournament at St. Lawrence to re-qualify for it.
Okay.
And I'm up for the challenge. Like, I'd like to try it again. I think I could get better at it, to compete better. I haven't been super competitive this year in it. But it's fun, you know, I mean, and when you are getting bites, I've had a couple tournaments where like I actually did get bites, and it is fun. Like, you're in it, you know, and you can hit a little flurry and get 4 or 5 bites in 10 minutes and like you'll rocket up the standings.
Yeah.
You know, and it's exciting. But if you're a guy like me who hasn't been in it a lot, then it's kind of like, oh man, you know, the other guys are just throttling them, and you sometimes you get so far behind that there's no chance to ever catch them, you know, because they're like 50 pounds ahead of you, or in Wheeler's case, he might be 100 pounds ahead of you. You know?
I was going to say, in Jacob's case, he might have 300 pounds in an hour. You never know.
Right.
It's insane, man. Well, I do think it is I mean, obviously it's bass fishing. It is a tournament. The techniques are similar, but it is a completely different game that they play on the Bass Pro Tour now that they went back to the every fish counts. And I've always liked it. I mean, I've never been one of those, like, you know, only 5 fish guys. I thought that was a cool thing that they did. I do think it adds drama. At times, there's a lot of shifting up and down that leaderboard. I think it's hard to relate to it for old school tournament fans sometimes, you know, because the 5 fish, like when I see, Keith Carson had 37 that weighed 90, blah, blah, blah. Dude, I'm a redneck. I don't have time to do that math. If you tell me Keith Carson's got 5 for 28, I'm like, by God, Keith blasted him. You know, I can see that. Yeah, see that real quick and know how that works out. But that being said, it is a different game, and I feel like Jacob especially Dustin, those guys they know how to play the game. Not only are they incredible fishermen, but they know that format very well. And I think for me, it would be so intimidating coming in as a new guy and going, okay, well, I've never done this my entire life, format wise.
Right.
And now I got to compete against some of the best in the world that have already been doing this since its inception, basically. Like it's a tall task, man. It's a tall task.
Oh, it's such a big task. And it was odd for me because, you know, you think, oh, I can go practice and try to figure out where schools are, but really you can't. And like in tournament fishing, there's some things that you can't learn until you're in the tournament. Like a lot of stuff you just have to learn in that tournament scenario and make decisions on the fly and try to make correct decisions. And so like for rookies like me and, you know, other guy, like I talked to Nick Hatfield, another rookie, he's kind of struggling Bass Pro Tour.
Great fisherman.
Great fisherman. Yeah, we were talking about it up at St. Clair, and he's like, man, it's tough. Like, it's to get thrown into the fire and try to learn it on the fly and cash checks and, you know, do well and try to qualify for everything you need to. It's very difficult. You know, and in my life, like, normally I'm not too nervous. Like with 5 fish, I kind of know what to do. I'm pretty calm. And then Bass Pro Tour, every tournament, I'm just like, oh man, what am I going to do? You know?
Really? So,
yeah.
Kind of took you out of your comfort zone, I guess, in a sense.
For sure.
Yeah.
And which I like, you know, because one of the ways to learn and to grow is you got to get taken out of your comfort zone. You know, you got to try things like with the Sonar, you know, I'm trying things I've never done before, trying to learn it and trying to adapt and advance and expand my fishing skills. And so, you know, the Bass Pro Tour, it's something I'd like to try again if I can catch them this week at St. Lawrence here. But, you know, it's definitely a challenge, that's for sure.
Where do you have to finish so we can all be watching us low lifers? Where do you have to finish to get back in BPT next year?
Well, so right now I'm pretty much aiming for like a top 20 will get me in there.
Okay.
You know, which is definitely doable. I just got to get around some fish,
yeah,
you know, get
doubt.
around a bunch of 3-pounders.
Well, and you just I know you said you wouldn't want a BPT there, but I mean, you know what to do with these smallmouth. You're the St. John smallmouth guru now.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's funny. Smallmouth is something I've always loved fishing.
Oh, yeah.
And I usually do fairly well, you know, with smallmouth.
For sure.
I don't know why.
So does John.
Yeah,
John
he's
catches
good at
them.
it too.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, he's really good at it.
Well, I think sometimes, Keith Carson, you guys get to use your eyeballs up there a little bit, and y'all have X-ray vision. I can attest to that. I've seen that many times in life, and it's not fair. If I want anything banned, I want your eyesight banned. Because I tell a story about John. One time we were at Chickamauga for an FLW event. He ended up winning the tournament, and I made the cut there. The 20 cut, and we were in this same, I had an offshore deal, but then I had some betters I was fishing for. It was kind of late in the spawn, and you know, obviously you've been there, you guys have had a lot of success there together, and John knows where those damn fish just go. And I run down this stretch of bank just like a bat out of hell, you know, I'm looking. I need one to upgrade, and I'm like, try to find one, and there's a 4-pounder on the other side I know about. Well, John comes in the pocket, so I shoot over to the 4-pounder.
Yeah.
and he yells over to me. He's like, hey, do you care if I fish for this one? I said, what? And dude, it was like an 8.
Yeah, you're like, there's another one?
There's one over there? And he caught it. And I've always truly, like, dude, sight fishing's my favorite thing on planet Earth. And I think I can see them pretty good. And I was like, oh, you can't see them as good as that guy. That's not good. That was that Jacob Wheeler experience for you, seeing him a forward face. And that was me with John and going, oh, I'm trying to catch the same betters as this guy. That's not going to work out for me this week. No. I got to get back out here offshore and do the Tennessee River thing and just leave these to him.
Yeah, if I'm ever shallow and I see John, I'm like, I might as well just leave. Go to a fresh pocket.
Dude.
You know, go somewhere he's not.
Well, speaking of John, so I was gifted these shirts that say "Big Cocks Don't Need Live Scope." I've seen this shirt, and you guys are besties from way back. He has not embraced it. hell, he doesn't even have he did put a spotlight controller motor on when we were at Pickwick for MPFL because David Allen helped him install it the night before day 2 or something. But he's just, John's John. He's going to do his thing, and he's very good at it. What is his take on Keith Carson going to the dark side?
He's, he's happy for me, and he keeps telling me, he's like, dude, if you learn this, he's like, you'll probably be unstoppable. Wow. He's like, because it's similar to sight fishing in a way. Like,
yes, sir.
I can see a fish on sonar, and I'm getting to the point now where in like a second or milliseconds, I can tell you if I can catch it or not based on like how it's sitting and the direction it's facing and stuff. And I'm getting better at it. And so he's like, they're making fun of me though. Like him and Alex Davis were at the house on St. Clair, and John's like, he's like, hey, he shows me his ring finger. He's like, do you ever get a blister right here from your bait caster? And I'm like, dude, I haven't thrown a bait caster in 6 months, and they're like, who is this guy? They're like, we don't know who you are anymore. They're like, you can't stay with us anymore. So they're giving me hell.
Well, Alex is one to talk. Alex has embraced it too. Okay. I know Alex. Alex is embracing it a little bit. He's out there throwing a freeloader around. I see that spinnerbait kid. I know what he's doing. I know that sneaky sucker. I know what he's doing.
Yeah. He told me, he's like, man, I haven't thrown a spinnerbait in years now.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah. He is, Alex is one of the best fishermen in the country, man. The fact that he doesn't have a win over there blows my mind.
Me too.
Because he's been close a lot of times, and he is truly something. I bet that house is a good time. You and John and Alex Davis. I bet that is that's a fun rooming experience. I like the sound of that group.
We do. We have a good time. We laugh the whole time. Constant jokes and stuff, and it's a great house to be in. It's always good, to be around good guys that can lift your spirits.
Yeah, man.
Every now and then the fishing's tough, and you're out there alone and thinking, oh man, I can't get any bites, and all those weird thoughts go through your head, and then you'll come back to a house and just have a good time. So, it's good to surround yourself with people like that.
Was Alex's dad been with you guys this year? Because he's a legend.
Yeah, he came to Kentucky Lake, and he came to West Point. And so we have a great time. His dad is so funny. Yeah,
Jeff's the man. I got a quick Jeff story, and people at home are like, why are you telling a story about Alex Davis's dad? But I'm going to tell it. And I probably told it on here before, but we were at Champlain one time. We were staying up there at that fisherman's, whatever it is, where everybody stays. Those cabins where basically the entire field will be. And it was the last year I fished the tour. And every event that year I ended up, and I've known Alex for years and years and years, but every event that year I ended up staying, I felt like next to Alex. Like wherever we ended up, just randomly, that's where Alex and Sean Murphy and crew would be. And so we would always hang, and I love his dad. He always makes me laugh, and just a good damn people, man. But anyways, we were sitting around one night, and he's like, we found a wagon wheel in Clearwater. Man, we found a wagon wheel. He's like, tomorrow I'm going back to get that thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? And so that next night, Alex has a video of his dad stripped down, buck ass naked, and dove to the down in Lake Champlain and got this wagon wheel that had been there what looked like since, I don't know, the beginning of time.
You're right.
He swam up with it's one of the funniest damn things. And it was just sitting there on the porch. He's like, Luke, check this out. And Alex was like, no, you've got to see how this went down. Amazing, dude. Amazing. And we were at St. Clair one time also, and staying next to him in this little marina, and he was out there catching muskie on Alex's swim baits in the marina. And we're out there rigging tackle. He's like, Alex, bring the net. We all go running down there. Awesome, dude. Some of my favorite people, man, in this sport. Well, dude, talk about life changes. You have had this crazy run through professional fishing, now BPT. Now you get a win on the smallmouth side of things. You've now got wins in the Opens, the MPFLs, and the Invitationals. But besides all that, something very important, Keith Carson, you're about to become a dad for the first time. Also,
for the first time. Yeah, it's man, it's mind blowing. I don't know what I'm in for yet. Everybody keeps telling me, they're like, "Hey, do you like to sleep 8 hours a night?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Those days are over."
Yeah, yeah.
So, so it's been crazy. I bought a house on Friday before I left for practice for Detroit. So the whole CrowdStrike thing happened with the
Yeah,
computers,
yeah.
and I was set to close, and they're like, wire the money that morning. You're set to close at 3 p.m. Well, the CrowdStrike thing happens. So I'm like, hey guys, I can't wire the money. And the title company's like, well, we don't take checks. We don't take cashier's checks. And I'm like, can you call corporate? So they call corporate and they finally get it approved to take a cashier's check. And so we get the keys, go to the house, look at it. We're like, cool, go home, pack my bags. I leave for Detroit at 4 a.m. the next morning.
Wow.
And get there, got a baby due October 17th. And it's just been crazy. Like this, it was like God's timing. Like this win couldn't have come at a better time. And the house that we bought, it's a fixer-upper because the market in Florida is just so expensive right now. It's unreal. Yeah. So we got a fixer-upper, and with my history, Cox and I, we used to hang drywall. We used to, finish drywall, texture paint. I do all kinds of carpentry, cabinets, crown, doors, everything to do with carpentry. So we got a real fixer-upper. So now I'm like, oh, this is great. I can, instead of having to buy the absolute cheapest floors at Home Depot, I can get something, mid-grade, a little bit nicer.
Yeah, you can upgrade. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you have John Cox help you lay those floors, we're going to need that live streamed, please, for us low lifers. John hadn't been on a paintbrush in a minute, has he?
No, I know it. He's dragging so much. I'm like, man, if he helps me with the floors, it might take us a month to do what I could do in a day. Yeah.
Well, he cut out Cokes, Keith, so he's probably going to get faster.
That's right. He did.
Dude,
yeah, he's like, he cut it out, and I think he's back to like one Coke a day.
Listen, dude, he said on MPFL Live, he's like, Melissa had me cut out soda, so I haven't been drinking any. And I swear to God, Keith, as he's saying that, there's a Coke on the front deck. Yeah. I was like, he's a liar. Melissa's going to see this and be so pissed. He's drinking this was at the Amistad Championship. He's like, yeah, I've cut out sodas. And there's one right by his feet. Now, it could have been from the last tournament. It could have been.
I don't know. I think it was
John,
a fresh one.
It was probably freshy. Yeah.
Last week we're on St. Clair and we get back from practice and he's like, oh man, I don't feel so good. And I'm like, no. And he's like, nah, man, I think I need a soda. I need a Coke. And I'm like, I don't think that's how that works, buddy. Like, I don't think a Coke's gonna make you feel any better.
Going through the Coke DTs, man.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, y'all are
crazy,
right,
dude.
man. No, he's. I guess I'll get to talk to John Boy up at Saginaw Bay. We got an MPFL coming up, and Keith Carson, understand if this whole BPT thing doesn't work out, and I hope it does. Come back home, son. Come back home.
I know.
We missed you this year, buddy. It's been weird not having you there.
I know. I love the MPFL. It's man, it's where it started, and it's just I love the guys there, and the trail there is ran so well. I love the trailered weigh-in. So many great things about it, and if the schedules work out, it's definitely on my list to come back. I want to fish it again. I loved it, and so I'm definitely waiting for the schedules to come out.
Well, one last thing. Speaking of schedules, how are you going to fish that, the BPT, MPFL, and redfish tournaments with John? Is that true?
Yeah, you heard about it?
I did. I heard about it.
Yeah, we're thinking of jumping in some redfish tournaments. Yeah. Cox and I were like, he somehow got the idea, and he calls me one night. It's like 11 o'clock at night. And he's like, hey man, what do you think if we go fish for some redfish? And I'm like saltwater? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I was watching some videos, and he's like, all the guys are sight fishing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really? And oddly enough, us being from Florida, we never fish for redfish.
I would have never guessed that, to be honest. Yeah.
I've actually never caught a redfish in my life.
Oh, wow.
Ever. I've caught snook. I've caught a lot of saltwater fish and just never caught one.
Huh.
And And John's like, yeah, dude. He's like, I think we could win. And I'm like, I've never even caught one. And I don't know if he's caught many, he's caught some accidentally. Like, I know he caught some bass fishing on Sabine. He caught some, and I think he's caught some bass fishing on Mobile Bay, all on accident. But he's like, dude, we could do it. And so I'm like, all right. So, I guess we're fishing for redfish next year.
I love it, dude.
Somehow we're going to fit it in, or just jump in some random ones.
I love it, man.
But I think they're only like 1 day of practice and 1 day tournaments. So it's kind of quick. So like something we can just jump in.
Yeah, most of them. I think they have a couple that are multi-day, 2-day events and stuff. But unfortunately, that deal has never really caught. Bass tried it for a while. They had the Redfish Cup and all that, and they actually owned it. And had it on ESPN. Dude, I loved those events. Like, those are some of my favorite tournaments I remember watching growing up. And I've redfished a lot. I love it. I would love to get in some of those, but it's really, it has the tournament side of it. I feel like there's a lot of local events in certain areas, but those big trails really, there might be a couple now, but I think the IFA might be one. IFA, I believe, still goes on. But you and John tell me the ones you're going to fish, and if I can fit it in my schedule, I'll drag the Express, and we can just go break down areas together.
Yeah, well,
that'd be fun.
Funny thing, I asked John, I was like, well, what are we going to do for a boat? And he's like, we'll just use our bass boats. And I'm like, I don't know if saltwater is good, like for the trolling motor and everything. He's like, nah, man, it'll be fine. Throw our bass boats in.
I have taken,
like, all right.
So I've taken my Express down to Apalachicola Bay redfishing a couple times, and in my opinion, now look, dude, salt, it's gonna rust some stuff. Like, understand that. Right. Like, even if it just barely gets on there, I fished for 2 or 3 days down there. It's been a couple boats ago now, but in the fall, you got to really just make sure everything's sprayed off. But everything's fine. I mean, the guts of a trolling motor are the same on a saltwater as they are. You know what I mean? For the most part, there might be some upgraded things, but I think as long as you take care of it, it's the same with your engine. There's not a big difference in a outboard that runs in salt than our freshwater, using air quotes, our freshwater motors, but you got to flush them out. That's the whole thing. Hook a hose up. And that's all I would do is every night when I got back, hook the hose to the Yamaha, flush it out for a while, spray the trolling motor off good, spray everything. But it was fine. I mean, it'll be fine. But you will have, like, you'll notice, it's interesting, like hardware on your boat. They'll be like, you can spot where something's not stainless after you're down there around it for a couple days, because it will start to rust immediately. Like, it's kind of wild how quick that salt's brutal. But you can definitely do it in a bass boat. The only big concern in a bass boat is really your fuel capacity, because it just depends on where those venues are. But I've got some friends that have fished those things over the years. Shit, man, sometimes they run like 100 miles and like one way and across, open freaking Gulf to go run up in some other river. Like, it's wild what those guys do to win those tournaments sometimes, depending on the venue.
Right. Yeah, I've heard these stories, and I'm like, man, it sounds so far, but like John was telling me, he's like, with redfish, you just need to catch 2. So it's not like you're running so far, you got to get 5 or whatever. You just get to where the better ones are. You catch 2, and then you run 100 miles back. I'm like, oh, okay.
And it's such a strange concept, as they've got to be under a certain size, right? Like, it's all slot, right. So they got to be short and fat. Like, the fattest, shortest one you can find. Like, it's a really neat concept. I love them. Love redfish, and it is sight fishing a lot. So we'll join up the tour next year together. I'm here for it.
That sounds good to me.
We'll go scope them. Let's go scope them.
Yeah. Maybe we'll be using my boat.
So I have one of my dear friends, Captain Michael Cowart, down in Panama City Beach. He's a redfish nut guru, fishes a lot of tournaments, and great saltwater fisherman. I ask him a lot when we're around each other, like, dude, you started using scope yet down here? Because he fishes them a little deeper sometimes. I'm like, bro, I'm just saying, you get that, and you're going to be next level. Yeah. There's one situation in particular he fishes for him in that my boys and I went with him in July, And I was like, bro, if we had live scope right now, we wouldn't be guessing. Because we were guessing a little bit. It was driving me crazy. I was like, dude, we could just shine that thing right over there. Like, there they are. Okay, let's go throw that way. Because they do roam so much, man. They're real, they never stop moving, it seems.
No, and with the tides and stuff too, they're constantly moving. They know where to be on what tide and everything. So
that's the whole, that's the challenge of it too, right? Is knowing the tides. Saltwater is so, I don't know, I'm enamored by it. I always have been. Real quick before I let you go too, this just popped in my head, but we've got MPFL. John's going to be in it down there. St. John's River in September. We got one more before we get there. Give me I don't know anything about the St. John's that time of year. Give me like a weight prediction for 3 days. Is that going to be like a 20 a day thing, or is it going to be more, or is it going to be grimy?
Well, so that time of year is always tricky because it depends, like if a hurricane came through or something.
Well, you got one coming, by the way, bud.
I know. So
you're finna get some rain.
Happens, like, if the water comes up a lot, it can get tough. And and I think we got one on the way, so I'm going to assume the water's going to come up. And if that happens, I think the winning weight will be like 17 a day.
Okay.
And John and I had fished some tournaments in September, some team stuff years ago. And I remember one year we had like 17 day one, and then I think we had 21 day two, and we won by like 4 pounds or wow. We won by a lot. So it typically doesn't take a whole lot in September. It's not like what you see in the springtime when guys are catching 30 pounds and stuff like that.
Okay.
But it'll still be Florida fishing. You're going to see big bass. You're going to see 8-9 pounders, 7-8 9s. All that's going to happen. And, everyone should catch fish for the most part. It's Florida. There's a lot of fish, and it's the river. You're going to have current. You may have schoolers. I've seen a lot of schoolers out there chasing shad and stuff that time of year. So it'll be a fun tournament for sure.
Hell yeah. I like to hear it. Well, Keith Carson, go win the Bass Pro Tour. Further continue your scope dominance. Yeah. Show them who's boss. Show that Jacob Wheeler guy. He ain't got nothing on the St. John's smallmouth hammer, Keith Carson, buddy. We'll be pulling for you this week, dude. I really appreciate you. Big time. Good catching up, buddy.
Awesome. Thanks for the call, bud.
Keith Carson, everybody, right there on that Eagle Claw hotline. We got him hooked up by Eagle Claw right there. That guy right there is a freak. I know I've thrown that term around a lot about some of these guys, but spent a lot of time over his shoulder on MPFL Live, and he is a remarkable angler. And it's what John Cox said. If he figures out this forward-facing thing with all of his fishing knowledge, like, he will be dangerous. And Keith and I have had that conversation as well. Like, dude, if you put all this together at some point, you might be unstoppable. He's one of, if not the best fisherman I think I've ever watched. I called him the fishing ninja for a long time there, first couple years at MPFL, because it was just the way he would pick things apart and the decisions he would make to just get himself out of a bind. Maybe he wasn't getting a bite. He would make these little changes. It's hard to describe, but like the action he would put into baits, the just attention to detail. Really, he's an impressive dude. And I also want to say this. He just qualified for BPT. It sucks that you only get 1 year. I will say that. I wasn't going to just put Keith on the spot about that. But it's like, with all their changes over and over, that sucks. That does suck. You make it through, you pay all the money to qualify through the invitationals and blah, 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 and then you get one shot, one crack at it. That's ridiculous. But not a shocker there. But it sucks to hear that, because he's a dude that deserves to be there. He deserves to be at the top level, if that, that's what we're calling that. You got the elites and you got BPT, you got to qualify for. He deserves it. He really does, because like he said, man, you're thrown into this new format. Thought that was really interesting. A lot of good stuff there from Keith Carson. I appreciate each and every one of you. Again, no Low Budget Live on Monday. There won't be an episode. I am going to go live on Tuesday night, though. The next night, that will be, let's see. Let's look at the calendar. boys and girls. That will be the 13th. August 13th, we'll be doing a live that night to get caught up. But Triple Threat and I will be on a trip, and I ain't taking my podcast gear. It's our 10-year anniversary, so we're going to go celebrate that. But I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all tuning in every week. Again, I appreciate you on the poll that we took last week, and I'll see y'all on the 13th. Y'all rock, you bunch of low-lifers. And here you go. Here's one more time as we leave. The River by Outlaw Apostles, Bay Simpson. See ya.
She gets high, she gets low, she runs fast, she runs slow, and she gets shallow, she gets deep. Without a paddle, you're up a creek. Pour me a drink on the bank, my brother, roll me a smoke, let the time drift by. Baptize me in that muddy water, I won't stop loving her till I die.